In this episode, I'm going to be looking at what to do with all of the interior, finishing out the ceiling. We pretty much have all our components in, and we're going to do a quick recap of what we did last time. I'm going to go ahead and remove the mantle from the interior. Of course, there has been comments on how this is interfering with the interior floor plan. I'm going to simply delete it. This was just to bring in components. And again, as a recap, under first floor, I'm going to try to bring in our water heater. So I don't have that yet. So under Insert tab, select Load Family, and I have it accessible in the library. For those who have the library, this falls under Plumbing, Architectural Equipment, Water Heater, and you simply select the water heater. For those who are actually following me on the YouTube channel, we're going to be having that provided in the description below. Under the Architectural tab, I'm going to select Components, Water Heater automatically selected. I'm going to place my water heater here. And that's exactly how we brought in our washer and dryer. Again, all of these components are available to you. Today, let's go ahead and start addressing the floor. So the floor finishes will build up from our base floor. Our base floor is concrete. For the sake of just reference, I'm going to go ahead and try to build as much as I can on top of the floor that already exists. And I'm going to be using nominal sizes of 1/2 inch just for the sake of this video. But you can have more complex flooring. So under Architectural tab, Build Panel, we're going to go ahead, select Floors. And what I'm going to do is go under Edit Type. And this is where we start looking into something more advanced. I'm going to duplicate this floor because I want to keep it as the original floor. This goes on the outside. And we're just simply going to call it Wood Finish. Press OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and press Edit here. So this is where I'm going to be manipulating. I'm going to be manipulating our oak flooring here. I'm going to bring this down. This is where the exterior or the top of the floor is. We can get rid of the plywood sheathing because this is needed for a hardwood floor. We can get rid of our structure wood joist because that's not necessary as well. Now all we left is with our oak wood flooring. I'm going to switch that down to 1/2 inch. And what I'm going to do is our oak wood flooring, I'm going to go ahead and change how it is viewed. So what I'm going to do is create a new material. So oak wood floorings, I'm going to duplicate material and keep the assets. Now I'm going to call this interior flooring. So the outside becomes exterior. Now that I have this material made, I can look at it in terms of identity, graphics, or appearance. Now under appearance, we already have a default image here of red oak. I can select that image, and if I try to find the source of this image, it goes back to a matte file. Now you can always look into the matte file by looking at View, right-click, View, Large Icons, and you can see that there's various different types of materials, bumps, and all of these things that you can bring in, and you can pretty much lay them over as different types of wood material. But what I'm going to do is under my downloads folder, and this file will be provided to you, I'm going to go and get my material that I want for the interior. I'm going to go ahead and press open. That's what I'm going to have as my interior finish of the wood. I can zoom in and zoom out. You can change the way this pattern looks. Again, you can go for a seamless texture. If you Google that, you can bring any type of texture in. I'm just simply creating a material from a material. It keeps the same profile as the material that we have already had, which was oak wood flooring. Now we just have a knotted timber that's on the interior. I'm going to simply hit OK or apply. Let's just go ahead and press OK. Now I have interior flooring. That's my finish. Something has to be between core boundaries. This is at 1/2 inch. Press OK. And I'm going to go ahead and press OK again. Let's go ahead and start drawing this flooring. I want the height offset to be at least 1/2 inch. This will ensure that we're building on top of our foundation that's already here. Now I'm going to use the outline tool to simply go all the way around. Now, ideally, you want to miss your studs and you want to assign floor by just the way you would do your ceilings. But for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and simply go from the outside walls and circulate all the way around. Of course, we're going to have to miss our interior of our bathroom. And I'm simply just drawing around, making sure the bathroom is missed, as well as the kitchen, because the kitchen is going to also have tiles. Let's just go from here, go to the pantry, go over, and then I'm going to just bring it straight down and meet me at this interior wall here. We can use the align tools right after this, and I'm just going interior face all the way around. There's no need for offset here. I can hit the check icon. As you can see, we already have this floor drawn. You can see how the floor reads slightly different as well. Now, if you have to change how this graphically appears, I can go under edit type, going back to edit structure. Here under interior flooring, I'm going to simply hit those 3 arrows, select graphics, and instead of 3-inch parallel lines, wood board, and keep it narrow. Press OK, press OK, press OK. Now we actually have our floor drawn staggered pattern. If we look at it in 3D, this is what my floor is doing. It's a beautiful interior wood finish that runs this way. And our bathrooms and our kitchen will be needing tiles. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So 1/2 inch off the ground. I'm going to go ahead, architectural tab, select floors again. Here, let's go ahead and select tiles. We're going to go under edit type and under edit structure. Before we get there, we have to duplicate it. And we're going to go ahead and simply call this ceramic tiles. And this is going to be our view. I'm going to go under edit structure. And here, I want to bring my tile and my substrate down because I need something into my core area. I'm going to go ahead and delete the 2 structural elements, so all we have is tile left. My backer board is not necessary because I'm tiling on the first floor anyway on top of concrete, so I can reduce that to 1/4, and that could be simply grout. And then over here, my tile is mosaic gray. I gotta change the way this looks. So under here, and just duplicate this tile, right click on it, duplicate material and assets, and I'm going to call this kitchen and bathroom tile. The reason I always duplicate is because I'm trying to get as many properties such as cut patterns and different things from already an existing palette. Now I can simply go under appearance, and I don't like this ceramic view. I'm going to simply select this image, and again, this image, everything that I'm using in terms of texture would be provided to you. Now here I have bunch of tile options again in my mats, but I'm going to go under my computer, under downloads. I'm going to simply go ahead and take this solo gray stretched up tile. I'm going to go ahead and press OK. That's going to be my tile. I'm going to make sure the image is there. Press done. Under graphics, I want the tile or the foreground of the pattern to be like a large 12-inch tile. And if we can't get that, we can draw a new fill pattern. And over here, I'm going to do something custom. So a new pattern name is going to be tile. I'm going to leave it as a basic. I'm going to do it as a crosshatch. I'm going to, instead of angling it at a 45, let's give it a 0 degrees. And the line spacing is going to be a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and press OK, OK, OK. Now that we have our tiles drawn, we can look at it in 3D. This is what my tiles look like once they're placed on here. This is nice. They're already drawn out. We have already an interior finish. And let's go ahead and start putting in our ceiling. So let's go ahead and do that by going under the project browser. And I'm going to go ahead and select ceiling plan first floor. Now that I'm here, I'm going to go under the architectural tab, build panel, and select ceiling. Now we have 3 choices of ceiling here. That we have a generic ceiling, a 2x4 with an acoustical tile system. This is for offices. You have a furring system. This is for on metal studs or concrete. And then you have a metal stud, which is also a commercial. But this is the closest one we want. So let's go ahead and select that. I'm going to go ahead and select edit type and duplicate. Instead of metal studs, we're going to go ahead and call this wood stud. I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Under structure, select edit type. The metal studs is going to go down to 3.5 inches because that's the actual size of a 2x4. And then from metal studs, I'm going to change this material type. Let's go ahead and type in lumber. So we can go into a wood, softwood lumber, and I can go ahead and press OK. So I have a softwood lumber and a gypsum wall board on top of that. I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Press OK again. And now I have a choice of making an automatic ceiling, which I'm not clicking on anything, but if I hover around, it'll create a ceiling in that room only. Or I could sketch a ceiling. In this particular case, because I'm going to have the ceiling height be same all the way across, I'm going to go ahead and sketch a ceiling. That way I know the ceiling is connecting across the top of the wall. I fast forwarded this bit because there's not much to say when you're drawing out the ceilings. All I have to do is just align it to the interior face, and technically the walls will cut through the ceiling plane anyways. So I'm just making sure that I'm not encroaching exterior walls where the actual walls are now hindering my architecture. So here, so this is where my interior wall is doing. We're not going to have a ceiling inside the fireplace. I'm going to go ahead and look at my height offset. Since I made my studs 8 foot 1.5 inches, and the double stud technically happens before the ceiling starts, I have to make the ceiling 8 foot 1.5 inches. That way, the actual double stud clears, and then these studs or this gypsum board sits on top. I'm going to reduce it by 1/2 inch because the gypsum board is not going to be there. So that's how logically I'm actually laying it out for where the ceiling is going to be. When I hit apply, now all my ceiling is going to go all the way across. I'm going to hit check so you guys can see it on my 3D model that we have our gypsum board intersecting while the studs connect. That's my 2x6 there. That's my 2x4s. And then the gypsum board cuts across. Now, ideally, I want the studs to not continue in this manner. I would have truss frames and stuff like that, but again, we'll catch all of that in the details. Right now, we're just looking at it architecturally. Now, let's go ahead and add some baseboards and modify the walls. Now, one thing you guys probably noticed was whenever we were dealing with ceiling is we were looking at it in section. We haven't looked at the wall in section, and this is a little advanced, but we want to cover all these details. So let's look at this 2x4 wall. I'm going to click on edit type, and I want to keep the same wall because watch what we're going to do here. Now here, under plan, this is what we were looking at. Now when it comes to sections, I got to start looking at it in sections. And whenever you look at anything in section, so let's go ahead and edit structure. Notice how this option appears only for vertical or in section mode. If I do it in floor plan mode, these options are no longer there. So under section, when I'm looking at this vertical structure, the sweeps mean I'm adding something or a profile to the side of the wall. It could be a header, it could be a soldier's course. When it comes to reveals, these are pockets inward, so we're cutting something out. Merge regions, if you're trying to merge, like let's say this stud continues and then there's something going on and there's a wall above this and you want to merge particular portions of walls. You could split regions. I split, especially in skyscrapers where the walls are getting thinner or as they go up or thicker on the way down. You modify, and this is like a reset commands that we're in when it comes to vertical structure. And then assigning layers. You can split region and assign different layers and merge them and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and click on sweeps for now. Now, sweep means that I'm going to be adding something. I'm going to go ahead and load profile, or I can add. I don't need to load profile because we're just doing simple modification. The profile I'm going to go ahead and select is a base 3.5 by 5/8 of an inch. I'm going to select the material. The material is going to be either lumber, but since we're matching with the interior, I'm going to go ahead and select cherry. So we have a cherry interior. I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Now, distance from the base, I want that 1/2 inch. The reason I want it up by 1/2 inch is because our floor or our ceramic tile or our baseboard or whenever you want to look at it goes on top of the finished floor from the base, perpendicular on the exterior side of the wall. Let's go ahead and add another one. These are interior walls anyways. So add, I'm gonna go ahead and add another base, 3.5. And if you guys want to look at the profile, it's 3.5 by 5/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go ahead and select my category to be cherry again. So cherry wood. What's the difference between this one and this one? Same thing. Go ahead and press OK. Distance from the base, 1/2 inch. Base perpendicular, this side interior. And I'm going to go ahead and press apply. Press OK. Now that I scroll in, you can see how I have my baseboard lifted 1/2 inch off the ground to allow for finished floor to actually sit there. This will help us in our sections. Let's go ahead and do some crown molding up top. Add sweeps again. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my profile. Now corner molding or cornice is already included here. Now since the actual depth of the cornice is 3 inches, so from top I want to come down 3.5 inches or 3 inches, 3 inches. So I'm going to come down 3 inches on the exterior side as well as the interior. So let's go ahead and add an additional one. And this is just for you to get hang of how to do this. These are details that go in a building. And then this time I'm going to go from the top again, perpendicular, interior face. I'm going to go ahead and press apply. Notice how it went 3 inches up. It should have been -3 inches. So let's make this negative, make this negative. Go ahead and hit apply. And notice now it's flushing out with the wall. And our gypsum board ceiling is over up top. So technically we need to come down by an additional 1/2 inch. So 3.5 inches. Now we're taking into account the gypsum board ceiling that's coming across. So now when I hit apply, now you actually have a place for that gypsum board. I'm going to go ahead and press OK and hit OK again. Now we have a wall that's an interior wall that ends up having a base as well as a cornice up top. Press OK. And notice how all these walls are updated now and they sit on top of the finished floor. Now obviously the finished floor is running through the actual stud. This was something we will take care of in the details. And then up top we have our crown molding sitting there with the gypsum board there. So this is something in particular we're looking at details. Now this is a 2x6 wall and that's an exterior wall. So we're going to have to address them separately. So let's do the 2x6 wall. Same situation. We're going to go under edit type. We're not creating a duplicate. We're going under edit. And under here, since we already have a section, let's add our sweeps. So I'm going to add 4 sweeps. I'm going to go ahead and give them all a category. One is a base. Another one is a base. This one is going to be a cornice. And this one is going to be a cornice. Now, material, all of them are cherry. I'm just simply selecting all the material to be cherry. And then from here, what is our base distance? Again, because we were coming up 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. From the base, 1/2 inch from the base, clearing our floor clearances. Now here, -3.5. And here, same thing, -3.5. And these two are coming in from the top. So that's our cornices. Perpendicular, one has to be interior. So let's go ahead and make that interior. Make this one interior. So both of them are coming in from the top, interior. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And you can see all of them already added. 3.5 inches, 1/2 inch, press OK. Press OK. And OK. So now I have my detail here of my base added there, crown molding added there. And all I have left is the exterior wall. Now for exterior wall, we only need 2 profiles. We don't want to add anything on the exterior because that's where it sticks out in front of the foundation. So we're just going to simply add it here. So under edit type, we're going to be looking at the exterior finish, interior finish. So I want to only go under edit structure and add to the interior. So select sweeps, add 2 profiles. So add 1 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and make 1 base and 1 a cornice. I'm going to go ahead and select the category. It's going to be cherry on both of them. Cherry on top. And then when it comes to base, we're coming up 1/2 inch from the base. And for the cornice, we're coming down negative 3.5 inches. And then both of these will be on the interior side. Press OK. And there we have it. So our crown moldings up top and our base moldings on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Press OK again. Press OK again. And now we should have a crown molding and base that goes all the way around being cut out, and that covers all of our walls. So our ceiling is done, our baseboards are done, everything is pretty much checked out. We can look at it in 3D, we can look at interiors of it, but before that, let's go ahead and finish a few more things. So we have our outside done, and we have one more material to modify up here. So we have our roof that looks like roof shingles, but when it comes to the AutoCAD drawings, they specified it to be a metal standing seam roof. So again, trying to marry it to the idea that we already originally had. So let's go ahead and modify our ceilings. So I'm going to go ahead and select our ceiling. I'm going to go under edit type, edit the structure, and now our asphalt shingle is no longer going to be the same. Now I would duplicate the ceiling if the ceiling was repeated somewhere else, but since this is only in one spot, I'm going to go ahead and manipulate the ceiling right here and there. And then I need a metal to start with. So I'm going to type in metal, and here I'm looking for something like a metal deck or something that already has profiles of a metal. Like for example, the image has been specified, reflectivity has been specified, transparency, the highlights is metallic. So a lot of the things are already filled out for us. So I can simply select this down arrow here, and I can say duplicate material with its assets. So what it's doing, it is actually creating a different material from the same one. I'm going to call this one metal roof. And here, I'm going to go ahead and change this metal roof. So first thing I'm going to do is change this PNG out. I'm going to simply select on the source. And instead of using the matte file, I'm going to be also providing this texture file. You're going to go under your download folder. I'm going to do the same. Go under downloads, select my metal roof, and press open. So that's my metal roof profile. I'm going to go ahead and say done. That's what the image is, and we can look at it in terms of graphics or identity, but overall this roof is supposed to have pretty much no foreground texture at all. We can make it aluminum, have it parallel lines or cut lines and things of that nature, but personally speaking, I just like my roof to read plain as possible. I add detail lines every now and then, and I can do different patterns as I do like regions. So I simply leave my roof as with no pattern. So that's how it's going to be. Go ahead and press OK. And now that I have that metal roof on there, I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Press apply. Press OK. And now I have a standing seam metal roof that goes across the top like so. Might be a little bit closer than it's supposed to be when it comes to pattern, but it reads similar to what is being shown in our AutoCAD drawing. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to go back to my first floor. All we got left is to draw out the tub surrounds here. So we're going to go ahead and add an additional wall on top of these walls. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new elevation. When you open up that elevation, if your elevation comes in like this, just expand it to where you can see the entirety of the elevation. And I'm going to use DI command to go from the first floor all the way up to where the tub is. That's 1'3" or 15 inches. So we're gonna go ahead and always have a base offset of 15 inches. And from there, I'm gonna go ahead and draw the wall to be 6'5", or that would probably make the most sense. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my first floor plan. I'm going to go under the architectural tab, build panel, select walls. Now I wanna have a startup wall that allows us to build that tile wall. And I think a gypsum board or a soffit wall would work. Click edit type, go under edit structure, and we're gonna have to go ahead and change all of these. So I'm gonna move this up. This is the exterior side. So if you want, you can make this the tile side. I'm gonna simply change here the metal furring to cement backer board. This would be like our grout. I'm gonna go ahead and press OK. Change that to 1/4 inch. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side where our finish is. I'm gonna make sure that this thing turns into a tile. Now we have multiple ways to have different types of tile, but I think they have a tile porcelain 4-inch. This is primarily used for tub, and it also has a good graphics for it. I'm gonna go ahead and press OK. Make this 1/4 inch as well in terms of thickness. I'm gonna go ahead and press OK. So this is probably our 1/2 inch gypsum board wall, but we can rename this. And since we don't need this wall anymore, we can call it bathtub surrounds. Now, normally I would duplicate, but since we already have this wall, I'm gonna go ahead and press OK. Now let's look at the actual features. So if we're looking at the base constraints as first floor, I want the base offset is 1 foot or 15 inches. I can call that out as 15 inches, but we have to look at where the top constraint is. So the top constraint is not up to level 1. I want this to go to top of plate. And then from here, first floor, I want it to offset up 1 foot 3 inches. I'm gonna go ahead and press apply. I want my finished face exterior is where I'm going to be drawing my line. So the interior is where my tub is going to be. So that's what's going to show. We already have all of these things specified. I'm going to go ahead and start drawing this wall here. And what I want to align to is the interior of the gypsum board. So I'm aligning there. And as I draw around, I'm making sure that I'm staying outside of the original region. Go around, making sure I'm still not touching gypsum board. Going around, all the way around the tub. And once I have all of this drawn out, I'm gonna make sure that these are finishing at the right points. These walls are extending towards the center where they shouldn't have. And I could actually have them finish out towards each other, like so. And same thing here. Have this wall be finished there, have this wall be finished right here, so we can actually finish out the corners like that. Now that I have these drawings, I'm going to go ahead and look at my tile. As you can see, the tile runs straight through the window, which is probably not appropriate. I'm going to select the wall, select edit profile, and I'm simply going to draw a rectangle in the middle where I'm going around the trim. Now that I have that done, I'm going to hit the check icon. So that's where my tub surrounds is, behind my tub, and I can look at this in 3D. So I'm going to go back to my 3D view, and as I cut through this, this would conclude our exercise. And as you can see, our tub is already drawn. Our tiles have been placed in here. We already have baseboards. that concludes our exercise. Follow for more content.